And welcome to Minding Your Business with the Lancaster Chamber of Commerce. I'm Chris Spiker.
I'm Aaron Goldstein. We are here with our first guest, Juan Blanco from Coffee for Vets.
Welcome, welcome.
Well, thank you very much. Very happy to be here.
We're happy to have you, Juan.
So,
We were at a AV Fair event this week.
yes.
AV Fair, and this was your first time ever at that event.
You know, I thought it was.
Oh, you checked your records?
Yeah, because my wife posted photos and she wasn't there, and I'm thinking, oh, how did she get in those photos?
So she was there last year,
She was there last year.
and maybe you were there, you just weren't.
Maybe, I don't know.
Now, the purpose of the event was,
That was the business event.
right,
Right.
supporters and sponsors
Mhm.
and maybe a couple movers and shakers.
Movers and shakers, yes, definitely. The Vigosio sisters are my entryway into most of this because they believe in veterans and what we do very, very much. So it's a way of trying to broaden our scope, our horizons, because even though we're a really big veteran community, we don't have enough information being passed around for the veterans.
As you were mentioning off air just a moment ago, that things happen and meetings get set up and
And no one knows about it. This morning, I was over at Victory Outreach on 25th Street East and in Palmdale, and the VA had an outreach at Victory Outreach Church. They had all three organizational structures from the Veterans Administration, and they were given a seminar about what it is that they do and how you become part of it. And most of the people there were the people that were doing the tables, sponsorships.
right.
So veterans really didn't know about it, and my job, what I'm really into now, is trying to get all that information out to veterans so that veterans have a better opportunity to know what's going on.
So did you start the group, Coffee for
I
Vets?
Coffee for Vets started back in 2011. At that particular time, I was part of the Alamo Valley Veterans Community Action Coalition. Things changed over the years. So I believe it was 2013. We started Coffee for Vets at Crazy Autos on Avenue I. And it was just, in the beginning, just to have camaraderie. But in order to do our Veterans Military Ball and our recent Memorial Day barbecue, we needed to incorporate into a nonprofit. So now we are Coffee for Vets, Inc., and we service senior veterans. And at Coffee for Vets, we have World War II vets, Korean War vets, a lot of Vietnam vets. We have some Afghanistan and Iraq individuals coming in. And we have all branches of service to include the Coast Guard.
And Merchant Marines.
Merchant Marines, and
that's
that's
kinda
a topic that I touched on a little while ago, because during World War II, Merchant Mariners were not giving a lot of attention, and they sacrificed a great deal prior to the war and prior to the United States entering the war.
Now, did they take an oath?
Well, I'm not really certain about the oath. The Merchant Mariners,
They weren't military.
not most of them. Some of them got incorporated into the Navy or the Army as their ships, depending on what their ships were carrying. But Merchant Mariners in general are just employees of a company, and that's mostly what it was.
But guess what? They were at war out there on the Atlantic.
They were subject to the war, and many of those ships were either destroyed, damaged, and or sunk, and hands aboard those ships were lost. So I feel very, very, I feel it's very, very important to remember Merchant Mariners during World War II, because before we really got into that conflict, that war, they paid the ultimate sacrifice.
You said close to 700 ships were damaged or sunk.
Well, they built 700 Liberty, nearly 700 Liberty ships.
Gotcha.
But during the era between 1939 and 1945, which is what I just recently researched, nearly 200 of those, 267 I believe, of those ships were either damaged and or sunk in the North Atlantic. This was just the North Atlantic. I haven't even researched South Atlantic or the Pacific yet. So there was a great many Merchant Mariners that really never made it home. And I would like the people to know that the Merchant Marine individuals, the Merchant Mariners, deserve their remembrance and recognition also, just like everyone else in all branches of service.
It was a long time ago, but we have not forgotten.
It was a long time ago.
We owe them so much.
Definitely, and I'm trying not to allow that to be forgotten, because over the years, our senior veterans tend to be pushed into the background. So Coffee for Vets is a venue for senior veterans and our younger vets to come together, because younger vets need to speak and get to know their older veterans, the ones that preceded them.
Right.
And came home, because a lot of the symptoms that young people have, the older folks have had also.
Exact same.
Exact same thing. Folks came back from Vietnam, and we didn't talk about it back then, but there were lots of suicides. My brother, for one. So my father was in the Army. My older brother was in the Army. He was with the 101st. My younger brother was a Ranger in the Army. I joined the Army, became airborne, and went to Germany in the 8th Infantry Division. And both of my brothers made it through Vietnam. They were both combat vets. They both had their CIBs. But when my older brother came back, he was addicted to drugs, and he lost his life here, back in the States, from an overdose. And how many other veterans who made it through a conflict, made it through a war zone, came back from a combat zone, and lost their life here in the States?
So, you know, they say sometimes someone who's been in the military, been in combat, doesn't have a lot in common with someone who remained a student, had a student deferment. So how can somebody like me who wasn't in the military, how do we relate, or how do we interface, or how can we help?
Well, interfacing with an older vet, or any vet actually, is just starting off by saying thank you for your service. That's number one, because back then, like Vietnam vets were called baby killers. Man, that was like the worst. I know when I came back home on leave, people wouldn't even respect you with their vehicles. They tried to run you over. That was like the bits. But just saying thank you for your service, and not trying to ask any questions, because veterans are very particular. They don't really come forward with information readily. It's hard to trust people. And that was a conversation I had this morning with some of the VA people. Veterans, it's kind of difficult. Plus, you don't understand what they went through unless you were in with them. Like Marine Corps individuals, Marines, they'll tell you straight away, I'll speak to you, but you really don't understand what I went through. We don't have the same camaraderie. So at Coffee for Vets, we have a section where the Marines hang out. We have a section where the Air Force hangs out. But we interact with one another to let each of us know that we appreciate your service. No matter what branch you were in, whatever you did was vitally important. I had a young man that was a cook, and he didn't feel that he contributed. And I said, well, who did you cook for? And he said, oh, I cooked for a general. Whoa. So, well, that's pretty important. But more importantly, how many chefs are there in the world? So you did a job that you didn't think was important, but it is important.
Yeah, and you don't want that individual going through life thinking their service didn't matter.
Exactly, and that's what was happening to him.
Yeah.
So we can make a difference just by saying, yeah, I appreciate what you did, because no matter what job you did it to protect this nation. Because here's the caveat. Everyone that raised their hand and said, I do, no matter what job you got, could be called to a front line at any given moment in time.
Yep.
That's what you've done when you raised your hand. It's a roll of the dice. So you could be in logistics, and the next thing you know, they're giving you a weapon, and poof, you have to report to the front line.
Now, a buddy of mine told me that when they came home, they were never relieved of duty. And so they still feel called to serve.
Well,
in some way.
In some way, that's a lot of call to duty.
Coffee for Vets.
Every Tuesday morning.
Every Tuesday morning.
Crazy Autos on
Crazy
Avenue
Autos, Avenue I.
7 a.m.
7 a.m.
to 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Pays to get there a little bit early. Now, this particular Tuesday, the 4th of June, 5th of June, what's Tuesday? The 5th of June? 5th of June.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The base commander for the 4th 12th Test Wing will be at Crazy Autos, Coffee for Vets, General Tiger.
Right.
So he'll be there serving coffee, helping to serve coffee with the vets. So if you're in the neighborhood, come on by.
You know, the general, he's a 1-star, right?
He's 1-star, Brigadier General, yes.
What a user-friendly person.
Oh, he's terrific. He's the greatest guy.
And I bet he is thrilled. Well, Edwards is a pretty cool duty station.
Yeah.
But to have the support that he has from the veterans and from the community, that's got to be...
It's pretty amazing. And I'm not trying to disparage anyone, but he's like the coolest base commander I've ever met in the past 6 years that I've been doing this. So he's like really fantastic, and I hope that people can appreciate him because he's really willing to work with the community. In fact, next year we have 2 air shows coming up. One in early spring and one in fall. Early spring we'll have the Blue Angels, and it'll be at Fox Field. And late fall will be the Thunderbirds at Edwards Air Force Base, and the community is more than welcome to Edwards.
Man, Aaron is, he's polishing his camera and making sure he has the batteries all charged up, because that's going to be an amazing year with those shows.
Oh yeah, cool beans for sure.
We love it. Aerospace Valley.
Well, you know, the general quoted himself, and I got to go with his caption, we're the center of the aerospace universe. And that's for sure. We are the center of the universe, aerospace universe. I gotta try to quote him for sure, because this is really a great moment in time. We have the ability now to lead the entire globe on aerospace and our space ventures and all. So
Isn't that wild?
it is fantastic. And for those who aren't really pleased with our nation, I want to say there is no greater nation than this. We are the best, greatest nation on the globe. So for all you veterans, I want to say thank you very much for your service. For those who are family members, we appreciate you, because I know that when your family member serves, you go through a bit of a turmoil yourself, because you're never sure what happened to your loved ones. So thank you again.
You bet. That's Juan Blanco and Coffee for Vets, and thank you for your service.
All right, thank you.
You bet.